Recording in progress.
Uh, it's the time is about 9:30. Good morning, honorable members. colleagues, Minister Delil and the delegation from DBSA. My name is Disang Muchumi, and I'm the committee secretary for the Portfolio Committee on Tourism. Yeah, we're meeting today, just a week after we have sadly lost our chairperson, Ms. Honorable Lungim Gangatabashe, who was buried last week. May her dear soul rest in peace. We will definitely miss her and the time we've spent with her in the committee. However, today we are meeting after we had meetings that we had postponed due to the set period that we have gone through. We are meeting with the DBSA. However, the parliamentary rules of the National Assembly allow the Portfolio Committee to elect an acting chairperson in the absence of a chairperson up until a chairperson has been appointed to the committee. So for this particular process, I will undertake a process to facilitate the process of electing an acting chairperson. I will be calling for nominations for the name of an acting chairperson for this meeting. And the second hand will be for the seconder of the nomination. I will check if there is any other second nomination. Then if there's no other nomination, then the nominee will be declared the acting chairperson. If there is two nominations, then we will choose, we will vote in terms of the two nominations that have been nominated. It will be, we will use the show of hands. So that's the first process I'm going to take. I see that there is a hand now I'm going to take names for acting nominations for acting chairperson. I see there is a hand there of Ms. Christina Klong.
Thank you, Chairperson. I nominate Honorable Stair to be the acting chair.
Honorable
Stair.
Oh, Songo.
Mhlongo, yes.
Yes. Not. Yeah, and then Honorable Kong is nominating Honorable Songo as an acting chair. Second hand there is Mr. Maejo.
Thank you, the chair of the session, committee secretary. I second the nomination of Honorable Shongo.
Honorable Shongo, there is a seconder for your name. Are there any? Can I take a hand for any objection? There isn't any hand. Any other name? One, two, three. One. So there isn't any other name nominated for the acting chairperson. Honorable Shongo, you are available in the meeting to be the acting chairperson?
Greetings, everyone on the platform. Yes, I am available, Disang.
Okay, thank you very much, madam. Can you kindly chair the meeting for today? The powers are all yours. I will flight the agenda for you so that you know how to proceed forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, honorable members, and let me take this opportunity and thank you for this short process that we just have now. And I will now represent the committee as delegated by committee members. Honorable members, I would like to welcome you all to this meeting of the Portfolio Committee on Tourism. Before we proceed with the agenda, I would want to ask honorable members that we pause for a moment of silence and acknowledge and honor the memory of our late chairperson, Honorable Ngimganga Kabashe, who recently passed away. Thank you very much, honorable members. The loss of our chairperson has left a deep void in the committee and in Parliament as a whole. Chair led this committee with dedication, with wisdom, and a deep passion for the development and transformation of the tourism sector in our country. We honor her legacy and extend our heartfelt condolences to her family, her friends, and comrades. May her soul rest in peace. Now, our agenda today includes a critical engagement with the Development Bank of Southern Africa. The briefing we are about to receive concerns the progress made in implementing tourism infrastructure projects. These projects are vital for enabling access, enhancing visitor experiences, and stimulating local economies, particularly in rural and underdeveloped areas that are rich in cultural and natural heritage. We look forward to hearing how DPSA has been supporting the implementation of infrastructure that aligns with the broader goals of the National Tourism Sector Strategy and contributes to job creation, economic inclusion, and sustainability. Honorable members, let us all use this opportunity to engage, to raise any pertinent issues, and make proposals that will strengthen intergovernmental coordination and accelerate implementation. With those few words, honorable members, I now declare the meeting officially open, and we shall proceed with our agenda. And item 2 on our agenda is apologies. I'll give back to you, Tisang, for apologies. Tisang?
Okay, good morning, good morning. Sorry, I thought I was muted. The apology we've received is from Honorable Mutley, who fell ill also. Is not in today and submitted a sick note. Honorable Tito will only be landing around 10 o'clock and will join the meeting immediately thereafter. The Minister of Tourism will be in the meeting until 11 o'clock, as she has other official business that she has to attend to. And in the meeting, we do have the delegation from the DBSA and both the Minister and the Deputy Minister of Tourism, including the DG. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Tisang. Honorable members, Minister, Deputy Minister, we have a new member of the Portfolio Committee, as we had lost one of our members. So we have a new member, Honorable Christina Tlong. Honorable Christina Tlong is now a member of the Tourism Portfolio Committee, deployed by the African National Congress. I would not waste time, honorable members. I'll proceed with the agenda and give over to the Minister.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, and congratulations with your election as the acting chair. Indeed, we are all still very sad about losing our dear sister, and may her soul rest in peace. I greet all the honorable members and DBSA and also members from the department. And thank you for accepting that I can be excused at 11 a.m. this morning. I want to commend the Portfolio Committee for calling DBSA to account and to give portfolio members an update as to where all of these projects are. I will just make a few comments around the contractual obligations. The department has extended the contract with DBSA for another year. It will be the last extension. We have to make sure that all the projects that are in the system, like for instance, there must be 10 projects completed by August 2025. What we will do as the department, where it is always being a weakness, honorable members, is that we must step up our game when it comes to contract management in terms of the deliverables of the contract, the service level agreement, that projects get completed on budget, in time, and certainly with the DG and the DDG, we will be doing more contract management with the DPSA. In terms of our new projects going into the future, honorable members, they will be selected on the basis of the 3 key priorities for the 7th administration. We're also reviewing the procedures for implementation of the infrastructure projects and hoping that in the 7th administration, we will be able to design projects and select projects that can create more jobs. We all know that one of our key priorities of the 7th administration is to create jobs. So the investment that the department makes into infrastructure development and infrastructure assets for the tourism sector, we must ensure that we create more jobs, and especially jobs for our young people. So thank you for the opportunity. And we continue to work with DBSA. And I have read and I've seen the presentation, and it is exactly the same as the report that they have submitted to the department earlier this year. Honorable Chairperson, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Minister. Who will be leading the presentation from DPSA?
Honorable members, Chair, my name is Trainer Rampel, but I've got our chairperson that wants to remark. I thought Ms. Martin Jansen von Ransbeck. Martin, maybe you could come in at this point, and then I'll come late.
Thank you very much, Twini. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, the acting chair for today, Ms. Klonge. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you the progress report. The team today that's here is Twini Rampele. So he was quick to unmute. I was struggling. And as well as he is the executive for infrastructure delivery in the DBSA. And he's joined by the head of construction and maintenance delivery, Kraus Kuman. And we welcome the opportunity to share with you the progress, as well as some remarks around the way forward. I take to heart Minister De Lille's words that these projects needs to be able to create jobs. And delivering the infrastructure is a part of actually creating sustainable projects going forward. Once projects are completed and it's handed over to the department, then there's a big task to also ensure that it's operational and that we ensure that communities that's receiving these projects is also enabled to be able to manage it appropriately. But with that, I'll hand you over to Twini.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chair. And I'm not sure if I'm visible there. And I'm also going to just try and share the presentation as in now. I wanted to check, Chair, is it visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you so much. Acting Chairperson, Honorable Nhlongo, let me also extend my greetings to the honorable members, Minister Delile, and the Deputy Minister, DG, and my chairperson, and colleagues that will be on the platform. So we obviously, this presentation was supposed to should have been given some time ago, and obviously with the reasons being given, we really also as a DBSA share the same we share the same we bow in silence in relation to the passing of the chairperson, and we really say may soul rest in peace. So from DBSA side, I'm just going to take you through the presentation. I'm trying to navigate it. Okay. I'm not going to touch on the purpose as it's an obvious process. So again, we thought let's touch base, as we agreed with the department, to just touch base in terms of giving the members just some historical, the last meeting that we met, just to say, indeed, obviously there is obviously progress that we've made in relation to some of these issues that were raised at that time. But key to note on this slide is just to note that at that time we also had a challenge with one project that was terminated, which was basically the Vrede Fort. And then at that time we committed to say we will then be engaging with the replacement contractor to make sure that we replace the contractor. And by that time, if members, some of those members that are there, we had about 56 active projects. And I'll explain the numbers down the line when I get into some slides. It's just to indicate at that time, we were working out of the 71 projects, we were working on 56 active projects that were, when I said active, is that they were in construction at that point in time. And the balance was mainly in the planning stages. And at that time, we reported to the committee to say we have completed 46 projects of the 56 active ones, and that there were just 10 that were left to really be in a position to be completed. And I think, as the minister has indicated, we will demonstrate as to those particular projects. And at this point in time, we also indicated kind of challenges, was these projects have not really been immune to a number of challenges. Part of what we cited at that point was the issue around the business forums, and in some cases we would experience, in rare cases, some construction mafias, and our definition thereof is therefore those that were just coming to want to distort, to extort money from the contractors, not necessarily wanting to do work. In the business forum context, we're talking of organized, forums within the communities that really have got the right capacity, or rather the right grading to really be in a position to participate, which we really very much value. But we also really need to channel them in terms of really, fighting for the right causes, rather than being a person to then fall into the trap of becoming mafias. And I think one of the critical things we raised at that time is the local communities, because most of these projects are more community, projects. And I think at that time, we were really, indicating the kind of a challenge that we're really consistently working on, which had to relate to, issues around labor and also some disagreements that really would happen, naturally within communities. Weather conditions, of course, it's a climate issue, and all what we can really do our best in is just more issue around how we manage the planning to that effect, and having to understand the extreme weather conditions that we're faced with. And in some cases, I think members would have noticed there are some additional work requests that really will come from communities, and then it depended on how we really manage those particular kind of requests. And where there are community strikes, we also experience those strikes were mainly, in case where, people are fighting to say, look, we need more employment. But you see, projects can only employ a certain number depending on the value of that project, and you could not stretch it to that point. So I think this is just to give a sense of what we have particularly at that time achieved as DBSA and together with the department. And of course, we also have professional service providers that obviously need to manage apart from the contractors. And for us, contractors that we utilize obviously is the previously disadvantaged contractors, but also we're looking at how we really empower them to then become effective, capacity that the country needs to implement these projects. And where it mattered, obviously, we had no choice. We had to exercise contractual provisions. That's why we had to charge penalties where possible, and then also beginning to ensure that we really, terminate where we could see that we've done our level best, but this is just compromising delivery. So again, it also goes with the professional service providers that we must hold them accountable in terms of ensuring that these projects get completed. So, Chair, just I think the minister has articulated on the issue of the agreement, and you'll notice that now if you look at where the relationship started, this partnership started obviously from 2020 in November. And I think as a DBSA, obviously we're an organ of state. We are one of the capacity of the state to deliver infrastructure. And as such, we then entered into that agreement, and the department at that time gave us a portfolio of about 71 projects that they said they were problematic projects that were assessed by GTEC. And then those 71 projects, they were classified in terms of community projects, maintenance and beautification, and local community museums and so on. So those were the 71 projects that we particularly received from the department. And at that time, those projects were particularly not well structured, not well planned. So we had to start with all of the stages. So in the construction field, members, what we start with, obviously, there are 7 stages. We start with the planning and the initiation. And then from there, the stage 2, which we call the concept design, is when we then begin to take this project, beginning to design. And in that process is where you are taking communities and social facilitation into consideration, because you need to understand what are the needs of those particular communities in the designs that we need to do. So I'm explaining this so that down the line, we can really be in a position to follow each other in terms of when we say that we are now at detailed design and so on. So stage 1, which is the planning and initiation, stage 2, concept design, and stage 3 is detailed design. And then stage 4 is when we deal with procurement. That's when we are done with all the production documents, that the designs are finished, the drawings are in order, and then all the tender documentations are in place. So that is the stage 4 of the process that we follow. And then stage 5 will then be the construction, or what we call works. So the construction is the stage 5. That's when you now procure the contractor, then you enter into that space. And then the stage 6 will then be what we call the final account. That's when we then reconcile everything to say the project was 40 million rand. How far have we gone? And then we then start wrapping up the project and making sure that all the documents are there. And the last stage will then be closeout. The closeout is when we then close out the project with the final accounts, close it out, and then be in a position to hand it over and say, this is the project that we've been mandated to do, and that's been completed. So I'm raising that because then this 71 projects that we're dealing with, we had to really be in a position to subject them to that particular kind of a process. And because at the time that GTEC assessed them, they were not necessarily at that particular point. So now coming to the budget and just an overview of the budget and expenditure. At that time, all of the projects that we have committed to this point were really accounting to a value of 1.1 billion. And that then the commitment at that point, or the commitment at the point now, is 956 million. Obviously, the 1.1 was encapsulating all of the projects that we have, including those that are really in planning as such. So all in all, in this program, we actually appointed about 58 construction companies. We also appointed about 14 professional consortiums or companies that really would have to help us with the detailed design and so on. So now the next slide, which is basically the financial, in terms of the financial requirements or reconciliation. Members will note that in 2021, the expenditure was only 1.6 million, and 2021 then it started to ramp up to 19.5, and then when it got to 2022, 2023, then it started to ramp up. The reason for that, members, has been that in November, when we finalized the agreement, we then did what we call infrastructure procurement, infrastructure implementation plan, which then was signed off in January 2022 with the department. At that time, when we were about to start, members will recall then we had the National Treasury moratorium. If you recall, there was a constitutional challenge on the Preferential Procurement Act, where the minister was challenged, and that necessitated the department of the Treasury to then be in a position to give us to declare a moratorium, and that moratorium existed from that February 2022. And then it ended up somewhere around May. During that period, the circular or the regulation, the circular was saying there should really be no procurement or any tender that would have been done after the 16th of February should be held in abeyance. And we had to be affected. We were affected by that particular process because we had also to hold everything in abeyance in relation to this particular process. So that again, that's what affected the expenditure, because there was no movement at all. But immediately after that, we did things parallel. And then after that, then we started, after the uplifting of the moratorium in July 2022, that's when we started to then be in a position to ramp up and speed up, accelerate the issue around the detailed designs and all of that. And that's why we started to then experience that kind of an expenditure of 19.5. And then as it goes, then we started to then have the most of the projects in construction. And that's why you start to see members on 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2024, 2025, you start to see that ramp up in terms of that expenditure. That's what explains why there was just under expending in that particular regard. It was basically on the basis of that. So now, I was just explaining that so that at least ultimately then it then clarifies members on that process. That's why if you look at the practical completions that we done, which I'll talk about down the line, is that they started to really trickle in on 2023, 2024, because 2022, 2023, we were really dealing much more intensive on the planning elements. And that's basically what we did to that effect. So this just depicts the program expenditure, and I'm not going to really, get members to really be technical. I think the simplest thing we're trying to indicate is that the original budget allocation for 2024-25 was 267 million, and then we ended up with expenditure end of March 2025 of 224 million, which again was an 84%. We could not really get to the 100% of that expenditure. But mainly that was due to the reasons that I've particularly articulated on the side. But it was mainly that some of the projects we could not take them to the construction. It was okay to just leave them at the detailed design, because the budget that was coming out of there was also, depending on the needs, was also needed to really be discussed. And that's the basis of why we ended up at that particular point. So now coming to the overall program, Chair, and the progress. So obviously this map is just it's just showing exactly where those projects are. And then we're trying to just indicate as to, where these projects are. And in terms of the provincial spread. But that is well articulated in this particular slide, where you could see that at that point in time, what we received from the department indicated a total of 71. And if you look at the allocation per province, it was more, the Eastern Cape at 14. And then we then had Free State 7, GP 1, which is Gauteng, KZN 6. The highest was in Limpopo at 16. And then MP was 6. And then we had Northern Cape 8, Northwest 7, and Western Cape 6. So that is particularly the breakdown of what we have received. And those were the projects that I think the department deemed to really have been having challenges that we need to really be in a position to come and unlock and work together to get them to completion. So if I then touch on the overview and the progress to date, then, like as I said, if you look at the table explains the program, the work package as to what we were doing there. But it also articulates the number of projects, which, like as I said, it reconciles to that 71. And then from that 71, At that time, we reached PC, which is practical completion, that the facilities could be utilized. We had about 46. So if we look at that 46 of the PCs that really we had, then we then come to say, now we are left with about 25, 24 or so projects. But this is how we spread them, because at that time we then had one. We had one in inception. We have now 3 in concept design, which is 4. And then if you take the detailed design and documentation, those are the projects that particularly we were meant to just bring them into the detailed design and documentation for readiness. And that then gave you about 13. And then when you look at that, the one that we put on tender was one that we put on tender, which was basically the one which we were putting into appointment of a contractor. That was one. And if you look at them, then it became about 14 of those projects that were particularly within that space of the planning and design. And then there were 10. If you look at the column after concurrence, then there is a 10. That is the one that I think we're talking about, also Minister referring to, which were part of the effective one. So when you take this 10 plus that, then it then comes up to be about 24 of that. But there's one project that was terminated by the contractor himself due to the unrest and all of these things that he could not tolerate. And that is the one that one project which then made 25. So that 25 plus 46, then it will give me, it will then be in a position to give us the number that we really are talking about in terms of the 71. So this is just maybe just to give you a sense of where we are. But let me unpack it further in terms of what then became the planned pieces to date. And that is basically up until the 14th of May. That's what this presentation is covering. So that time, as we said, we were left with 25 because, as we said, we did 46. And then at this time in May, we out of the 25, then we achieved the 14. And hence we're talking about the 10. That if you look at the bottom table there, it is explaining the status of the 10. So that 10 is basically one that is still in, and that's the one that we lately put into place in terms of the program that we set out for replacement. And that's why now we have 9 of them that are particularly between the 76 and 99%, and they're about to finish. So as we speak now, Chair, in the past 3 weeks or the past 2 weeks, as we were postponing, we then achieved 3 of the practical completion, with one that we've achieved yesterday, which is Oaks. So we've got now out of 10. We'll then minus 3 because 3 has already reached that practical completion now. So in particular, so in May, the Oaks, the Luhuruzi have basically achieved PC. So at this point, we then are left with 7. And then, as we explained above, there is just to say in June, we will definitely then be in a position to put about 3 or 4 of those that to be in completion. And then we are also looking at that in July. We then managed to then complete the 2, and then the last one we anticipating to finish it in August. And I think that is basically speaking to what the minister has indicated, to say by August we are planning to then be in a position to have wrapped up all of these projects to then be in practical completion, and we'll start dealing with the other processes. So obviously there have been challenges, Chair, that we've experienced, and like as I said, it was just more to really start to look at challenges in specific terms in relation to the various projects that we're looking at. But if you look at all of this, so if you look at Royal Kalanga, we're just trying to depict as what has been the delay, because most of all of these projects are really delayed, all of them, if one needs to put it that way. So we then again wanted to share with the committee to say what has been the kind of reasons for each and every one of those that are left. And then obviously Royal Kalanga, like as I said, we're hopeful to achieve practical completion this month, because it was actually at 90%. So we're still anticipating it to really be coming through now this month. So the Manyane Lodge, we had an unfortunate case in the Manyane Lodge, because at the time that we really were about to finish, around December, then there was an unfortunate situation that happened, that in the process as they were working, some buildings caught fire because of the thatch, and those buildings were banned, and as they were banned, then they really put us to regress. But the committee should note that the responsibility thereof became that of the contractor, and we engage with the contractor because we always, when we contract with them, look for insurances that are necessary. So fortunately, in this case, because of their own, after we've done our investigation, it was also proven to say that the subcontractor that was engaged, they were really negligent in the process in terms of what they were trying to do, that waterproofing on the roof, and that's why this thing caught fire. And then we therefore then invoke the insurances, and the insurances has particularly paid. So for now, that project is in progress now, with the contractor having to redo some of the work. And then currently, as I speak, we are sitting at 65%, but the project is planned to be completed in July 2025. So everything is on point now. So and that the insurance have actually covered the costs. So there's no particular kind of increase in terms of the cost coming from the department. We had to utilize those risk management measures that have been taken. So when it comes to the total ecotourism, again, it's members should note. I mean, we have one challenge of most of the contractors that we're looking at. Obviously, it's also for the development of them, but we also want them to really be in a position to be responsible. And many of them would always then be experiencing the issue of cash flows. And that has been one of the critical issues that we've been faced with in terms of this program. And then in this case, in terms of Tlacho, I think the main issue was more like when the extreme weather conditions hit, we started to then have a challenge of accessibility. But I think and also some additional work that were identified for the facility to operate fully and optimally. It then pushed us to then embed that particular work, having had discussion with the department in terms of the justification for such additional work. And that's why now the revised date is going to be the 18th of August 2025. This is the last project that we believe we will then be wrapping up the program with. So otherwise, in terms of Mthunzi Lodge, I think the critical challenge that we faced with here was that when the works has been done, we needed to ensure that there is electricity a connection to that effect. So therefore, we engaged, because in the beginning when we start building, we then submit application to Eskom. So Eskom took longer, and then that has been the delay that we've been receiving from the delay that has been inflicted by Eskom's delay on the provision of electricity on the site. And that's why now we're wrestling with them to make sure that please come and connect the lodge so that it can be fully functional. But I think in terms of the furniture and equipment, all is in place. I think it's just more the energizing of the facility, which our challenge is Eskom. But we are again, hopeful to resolve such issues before the 30th of June, so that this can really be handed over. So when it comes to Musipen, I think it's more again the project that was mainly experienced constant disruptions with community demand and scope change on the original work. And I think we have discussed with DG to say, I mean, let's finish the scope that has been allocated, and from there we'll deal with the other scope. Because if we don't finish that, then we'll keep on shifting the completion date, because adding new things also then means that you are also adding an increase in the contract. And that's what we really did not want to get into. But obviously it takes a lot of energy to then negotiate with the community to ensure that they understand the implication of that, and that such kind of scope can really be accommodated in the future. And some of those additional scope that they were looking at was basically, to look at the fence around the lodge, which in some cases we succumb to say, let's put in, because it is necessary to have the lodge really be fenced. But such scope will then be, some of the scope, as we said, will then be in a position to ensure that we really do it separately, to ensure that at least the original scope is completed. So LP Oaks, like as I said, it has reached practical completion. Yesterday there was inspection that was done. So yesterday it was resolved, and then now this one, then they can take occupation of the lodge, and then all of the issues that we spoke about has been handled with Eskom having energized the facility now. So on Andoni Dam, which is obviously the project again, it was more marked by the local labor community and subcontractors, and this is where we must admit that we would have a main contractor, and then you'll get the subcontractors from the local communities just as an empowerment. And then one of the things that we'll do, we'll pay the main contractor, and in some cases you'll find that the main contractor isn't paid, doesn't then pay the subcontractors, and that's just been the pain we have been looking at resolving from our side to say what is the best way of dealing with this issue. And then when we pick up such cases, that's when we then decide to then say, let's do a direct payment to the subcontractor, and then be in a position to deduct that particular money from the main contractor, because some of these main contractors then they go and do their own things and don't pay the SMMEs, and that subsequently affect the communities, because then the laborers there they are not paid, and then if they are not paid, it becomes a challenge. That's why they will then begin to resort to stopping and disrupting the project itself, because they really and they're right to demand to be paid, because we have paid from the program. In this program, one thing for sure we never had, Chair, is we never had a challenge of funds. There's always been funds. It's unlike other departments that we really struggle to spend 3 or 4 months without funds. So the Department of Tourism has really been very resolute around ensuring that these projects are being completed on time and that there's no particular hurdle to that effect. So that's why I think it's important to also raise that. So on Lehurutsi, again, on this side, we're planning to finish this project end of 2025, but I think it has also reached practical completion in the last week. So otherwise, all the challenges that has been experienced there, they've been resolved, and then we reached that practical completion now. Satoho Game Farm, again, it was just more the poor performance of the contractor that he then pushed to say that he'll complete this by the end of May, which is also what we're expecting to then finish. We just did, one of my team members is already at that site trying to visit together with the AG. So we believe that we also will then close this particular project at the end of May and register it as practically complete. And then the dresser, which is basically the second site, we also have a challenge there of the contractor that has been very, very, very slow. Then again, we are managing that through the contractual means. And then at this point in time, I think the remedial plan and the recovery plan that has been agreed with the parties, it certainly then means that the project will then be completed in June. So we're really monitoring that very closely and together with the department to ensure that the contract management is tight on this to get to that completion. I think one of our biggest challenges has also been the Vredefort Dome. And really our problem started when we had the first contractor who was really not exercising the work with due diligence. And then the original contractor, we had to terminate that particular contract in June 2023 because we consistently experienced that poor performance. And that poor performance was also starting to crop in affecting the quality of what needs to be done. So we had no choice but also to just relieve that contractor of the site. And then we appointed the replacement contractor in January 2024 with a view that obviously it needs to accelerate and push for us to then complete this particular project on time. And the contractor again could not meet the date, and which we thought is the 12th of December 2024. And by now, with the recovery plan that was put, we then decided to then say maybe what we should then do is to do a tight monitoring. We have actually placed much of our personnel there to really be in a position to manage this thing on a weekly basis. And now the contractor is really recovering on a plan. And then we're thinking that with the way the works is going, we should really be complete by July 2025. So I dwelt on this to just indicate the various challenges on the 10. But like as I said, some of this, we've already completed about 3, so we're left with about 7. So other matters that we just needed to really highlight is that Minister Delile talked about the objective of ensuring that these projects must also be developmental. We need to also to achieve the economic contribution that this projects needs to get us to. And I think we're tracking more the development impact, and since the 2020, 2021, and up until 2024, all of these projects actually created 966 jobs. And when you try and break them down, you then find that it's more adult male, we had about 405, women opportunities that were 139, and then the total youth, we had about 416, and then we have youth male 271, youth female 145, and then we also had people with disability that we registered. So all in all, that is basically the amount of jobs that we really created in the 2023, 2024. But in total, we had about 1,268 to date. And then we had 293 SMMEs that particularly benefited into the whole entire project. So on the right side, Chair, you'd always see, I always prefer that we also give you a pictorial view of how this these projects look like. So you could see some of those projects. Obviously, it's just one picture, but we have a compendium of all of these pictures on each and every one. So you can see the Anton Lambert restaurant and the kitchen, the Musipan, the chalets, how they look like and how they've been designed. And then in conclusion, Chair, I think on the 10 projects that we said, like as I indicated, already 3 have really achieved practical completion. So in practical terms, we're then left with about 7 in this regard. And then and now what it will mean is that 46 projects achieve practical completion to date, then it will then be 49 that has achieved practical completion as we speak. And then the Platfontein Lodge project, obviously, it's in procurement. We're hoping to complete the whole award, particularly by the end of this month, to ensure that this project gets going. So on the 14 projects in planning, I think that's where we're saying that let's just take them to the design and development, and that is also actually also in tandem with the extension of the agreement to say, obviously this project will be done by that particular period. We will also administer the process of final account, but also then we need to then give the department a package of those that have been designed and say these are the projects that has been designed, these are the plans, these are the drawings, and then the department will then decide whether they take them to stage 5 or the stage 4 in terms of procurement, or decide otherwise. So that is basically the prerogative of the department at this point in time. Like as I said before, we had only one contractor that we terminated, and there's another contractor that has been terminated by who just terminated by himself because then he realized that he can't cope with the community interferences and all of that. So that is basically where we are, Chair. So I think the rest of the document, Chair, it was just to show the targets in terms of what we've achieved. As we said, to date we've spent 788 at that time around the 14th of May. And then of the infrastructure that we've done, 46 practical completion. Like as I said, for the update, then it will be 49. Even that 788 will increase depending on what we've paid for. And this is just showing some of the job opportunities that we've created through the program, and then the SMMEs. That's just the summary of what we've achieved. So on that note, Chair, I think let me park it there and then and take the clarifications and input and advice from the committee. And on that note, Chair, thank you so much from my side.
No, thank you very much, colleague, and your team from the DPSA for the detailed presentation and update to this portfolio committee. Honorable members, here is a presentation by the DPSA, and I would now note hands for honorable members to ask questions and clarities where it's needed. I will be noting hands, comrades. Sorry, you pardon me with the comrade. I keep on saying comrade. Sorry, honorable members. It's going to be Honorable Tito. It's going to be Honorable Maejwe. It's going to be Honorable Linde. So far, those are the 3 hands that I'm seeing on the platform.
Mashabela and Archer.
And it will be Honorable Mashabela and yeah, those are the only hands that I'm seeing on the platform. Honorable Tito.
Thanks, Chairperson. Greetings to everyone who is present today. Chair, my first question is going to be that on the presentation, we saw that on the achievement, the DPS SSSA showed us that there were youth and women who achieved from this project. But now on the issue, of disability is 0-0. Is there any challenges there? Because of it cannot be that projects are there and then people with disability, they are not achieving anything. And also on the free at the dome project, we saw that one contractor pulled out and then the other one came. How much was spent on that? Because of if one contractor is in and then at the end of the day he is pulling out, meaning that there must be some financial implication. Can they indicate to us how much financial implication was there? And then, Chair, on the issue also of you guys, you are telling us about projects that are not completed, and then there is one project that is going to start in Platfontein in the Northern Cape that is currently has just started now. So can I ask the DPSA, how far are they in terms of making sure that the department itself has its own capacity to hand over everything now to the department? Because of the last time they told us that they were busy with that implementation, but can they tell us how far? Because of now many of their projects are going to end, and now there is another one. So that other one, are they going to leave it like that, or what is going to happen? Can they just indicate to us? Thanks, Chair.
Honorable Mayetre.
Thank you very much, Chair, and let's welcome the presentation from the DBSA. Greetings to the Minister and the DM, and then the supporting staff. Chair, I'm quite worried. I'm really concerned with regard to this presentation. In as much as we are told that there is work done, but in my view, in terms of project management, and this is my view, in terms of project management, practical completion refers to a stage when a project is substantially completed and can be used for its intended purpose. But that doesn't mean that not the so-called, but the 46 projects that are in the practical completion, then we can then say that the DBSA achieved, because this project, they are in the practical completion, meaning that the projects are not yet fully completed. And why I'm saying that, the practical completion can potentially lead to audit queries on budget allocation for these projects. Because once you then pride yourself as an implementing agency that we have achieved 46 projects on practical completion. Now, what does it mean? It means that there is a remaining work. And if this significant work remains after practical completion, then it means that the auditors might question whether the project was truly practically complete. And if not, then it means that the funds were not properly used or allocated. Then it has a query. This is my concern, that for so long, in as far as the time frame is concerned, we are sitting here And then we are told of 46 practically completed projects. There is no stage in the project management that says that these are the projects that out of 46, and I want to know how many that has had a close out report and a handover out of this 46. Because I'm happy about the one project that is they are saying that it was terminated because of the poor performance of the contract. And I also want to know what are the penalties that were imposed on that particular service provider. Because when I look at the slide 19 of the detailed report of this project, you can see that the Umtunzi Lodge, the report says that it's okay. I'm not going to read it, but my concern on the Umtunzi Lodge is that what is the percentage of completion of this project? Because we are happy we're getting a report on it. And then we go to KZN Muzi Pen project, which is not also fully complete. And the overall of this report on slide 19, it then tells you that DBSA lacks a capacity in terms of stakeholder project management. Because you can't continue to experience the similar or same problems that result in community disrupting the project, that also result in the so-called construction mafias. And you don't tell us what were the measures that you put in place to make sure that you deal with these issues. Because for me, they are common in the report here. And these reports or the projects that are stalled, they are stalled as a result of one common problem, which are in the main community disruptions. But we are not told that what is it that we have done to make sure that you avoid that situation. And when I'm seated here, Chair, as I'm about to conclude, I'm of the view that we might be sold a dummy, that in terms of the audit query or the money for money for value of this project, if we're to say these are the taxpayers' money, and therefore you can't be telling us that the money was wasteful expenditure or was wasteful in as far as the disruption are concerned, and yet we must believe that. But you must tell us what have you done to avoid the similar situation, because it can this situation can occur consistently. So now that's my worry. Then the other issue, Chair, is the Fredefort and Fredefort Dome. You see, this Fredefort Dome, that for me, you remove another service provider, you um, bring in another service provider, but similar situation still the same. What does it tell you? It tells you that indeed, in terms of consequence management by the DBSA, they are light. I don't think that they are serious about the consequence management to making sure these service providers account fully to the work that they are appointed. The only thing that I get excited is the professional service providers, which are responsible for the designs and so forth. I see that they are doing their work and they complete their work on time. Now, then fast forward is that there will be now another 14 projects that must be implemented by the same DBSA, assisting our department. But how sure are we that the DBSA will indeed professionally, because the DBSA is a professional implementing agency that must assist the department in making sure that professionally these projects are implemented. And my last call is that we can't be sitting here receiving these documents and the reports that are crafted nicely without practically going into this project and do oversight ourselves in these projects. I know that we have adopted a program, but for as long as I hear these reports, I become worried that we might be delaying. We might be taking too long to go and do a practical oversight as the committee so that we hold these two agency as well as the department accountable. Because here we're talking about millions of rands of taxpayers' money, and we can't just sit and fold our arms and say, no man, these reports are alarming, and therefore we need to critique them, and then what? We must go there. So that's what the input and my views are all about on this particular thing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Maetwe. Honorable Linde.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Minister. Thank you so much for chairing our meeting, Chairperson, and thank you very much for the presentation. I really share the sentiments of Honorable Maeko, and this report is really damning on our department. I have a few questions, Chairperson, but first of all, I want perhaps just Minister to just explain something to us on, she said that we are going to complete these last 10 projects and then no more projects. So if she can just give us some more detail on that, are we not going to do any of these infrastructure projects, or maybe I misunderstood. But Chairperson, this report is damning, and I am also not going to refer to Vredefort. We have referred a bit to them. I need to know about the penalties for these contractors that did not achieve what they had to achieve within this specific timeframes. And I need to know on how does DBSA justify the cost overruns that exceeds like more than 100%. That's like LP Oaks. So how do you justify it? And I don't really buy the reasons for all these overrun of the cost. Platfontein Lodge, Minister, I have asked questions on it, and it was said to me there's nothing happening with Platfontein Lodge, but there's overspend, there's the projects stand still. So I need to know what the cost-benefit analysis for like Platfontein Lodge and even the Craddock 4 Garden is. Another question, Chair, to DBSA is why were projects like the Numbi Gate, and I know they were terminated due to the land dispute, but why were they approved without resolving ownership first? And what measures exist to prevent these white elephants? So my question, the same as Honorable Maeko, is are these 45 completed projects or 46 completed projects, are they operational and functioning? What is the status quo on those projects? Are they running? Are the communities benefiting from that? If I can get some clarification from DBSA. And then, Chair, another concern is the co-ownership of communities. How many of those projects have formal community co-ownerships in agreement? And that's important because we're doing this for our communities. Do we have those agreements in place? And then question, are there any disciplinary actions taken against the DBSA staff for the procurement irregularities? I know there are quite a few mentioned in the report. And Chairperson, that's basically my questions. I'm not happy with this report. It's not a good projection of what's happening in the Department of Tourism, and maybe the reason for the Minister's comments in the beginning. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Linde. Honorable Mashabela.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. My name is Renelo Mashabela from the EFF, a member of this committee. Chair, there is a serious trend in this department of poor project management, which result in failed projects. DBSA SA is hired to cover up the mess to avoid consequences management. The question to DBS is, why do you take projects like Manyani Lodge, where it was clear that you are being used to cover up corruption? Don't you have moral standards to uphold? You saw Manyani Lodge. How much was spent and its situation? That project was a crime scene on its own, but you proceeded. Why? Chair, there is a serious corruption that is happening in this department, and it is happening in Matsila village, which is found in Limpopo, a village where I'm coming from. This department built Joe Matsila Lodge worth of millions. Today we see a Matsila Lodge built few meters from Joe Matsila Lodge. The critical question here is, who own Matsila Lodge and Joe Matsila Lodge? Which provincial department or public entity own Matsila Lodge? We are asking this question as the EFF because the community is angry that an individual owns the two lodges and they benefit nothing. Chair, this department has just spent 41 million on a lodge that is not owned by the state. Can the DG explain the ownership of the lodge and take us into confidence on what informed this second development less than 200 meters from their previous project? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ismail.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to the Chair, to colleagues, and to the department, and to the DBSA that are on the Zoom platform. Thank you for the presentation. I think you can hear everything is so negative. And while I welcome the presentation, I want to highlight a few things. I mean, the presentation highlights several cases, where infrastructure delivery has stalled due to municipal service delays, particularly water and electricity connections. Now, this obviously suggests gaps in intergovernmental coordination. What concrete mechanisms are in place between the DBSA, local municipalities, and the Department of Tourism to ensure that completed infrastructure is not left idle due to service delivery failures at the local level? You've mentioned ESCOM, etc., but I want some concrete replies to relevant to all projects. And then secondly, given the lessons from projects like Nandoni and Manyani Lodge that experience vandalism, fires, and community unrest, how is the DBSA adjusting its risk assessment and planning on or approach of the 14 projects still in the pipeline? And then, Chair, with 788 million rand spent and over 60% of projects reportedly at practical completion, how is it that every single project currently under construction is behind schedule? And what confidence and guarantee can this committee have or get from the DBSA's delivery model that it is not just producing infrastructure, but producing it on time, within budget, and ready for actual use? There must be a sign-out completion document. We are seeing, last term there was the same issues. This term there's the same issues. This is a continuous issue with infrastructure projects delivery currently and previously with the DBSA. So, I'm stressing the concern that these issues are over and over again. And when you are starting or when you are busy with new projects, are there any new feasibility studies being done? We know some projects were planned like a few years ago. In order for these projects to be now starting and reaching completion also, are there any new feasibility studies being done? Because if these new feasibility studies have been done, I would like to know when, and we would like to get a report on that. We certainly cannot afford to, waste taxpayers' monies for white elephants. And basically, we've had already in the past, we've had the AG already in 2019 requesting for, investigation on 14 infrastructure projects that cost us billions, cost taxpayers billions. We certainly cannot afford that. Another issue is we are employing the same contractors. We are having the same issues over and over again. I see no real measurement of consequence management. I see no real measurement where DBSA and the department, I'm going to ask the minister and the DG to also, and the DDG responsible for infrastructure to be able to tell us, giving us a report to say, yes, something is going to be done, or we're strengthening this, or we're strengthening that. We are not seeing the results on the ground. I mean, we've went for oversight visits last term. I don't even want to talk about Monyane launch, but I mean, there's no real discussion between municipalities. We drove around in circles because there was no real street signage as well to tell us that this is a
I don't know
after
if
being. Can you hear me, Chair? I'm sorry, I'm actually in a very bad connection area, but I'm nearly finishing now. Lastly, I just want to say, even when our oversight visits that we took in the last term, we've had so many loopholes, we've had so many issues that we've highlighted, and we've seen gravel roads, we've seen no proper signage. And how do you expect people to use this tourist site if there's nothing of this? So the key is the discussion point between municipalities and DBSA and the department. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Linde. I don't see any other hands on the platform, but Minister, what stands out here is the persistent pattern of project delays, many of which are due to community disruptions, utility service delays, contractor underperformance, and weak coordination mechanism. These are not isolated incidents. They suggest deeper structural issues that must be urgently addressed if we are to realize tangible value for public funds invested. And also, yes, I know I'm the chair today, but there are issues, there are other projects that were mentioned here. I would want to know, Minister DG, from the department, because you have projects like Manyeleti. It can be presented here as a beautiful project. Then what happens after DPSA has now built the infrastructure? It was a beautiful place, but Manyeleti now is a mess. I don't think even us as a committee can go and sleep at Manyeleti the way Manyeleti has turned out to be. Who then is responsible after that to make sure that these infrastructures remain what we want for our tourism in the country? Through the department, the provincial entities that are responsible, who does the monitoring of these projects if the department is not saying anything when they are from a very perfect state, then within 2 years down the line, they are a mess. So I think honorable members are very much correct. We also note with concern the termination of contractors, frequent use of penalties, and the reality that several projects remain behind schedule even after revised completion targets. These delays do not only affect timelines and budgets, but undermine the credibility of the state and deny communities the social economic benefits they were promised. So I'll hand over back to yourself, Minister, DPSA, and the DG, because I think the questions that were raised here, they include questions to the department, questions to DPSA, and yourself, Minister, and the Deputy Minister. So I'll start with yourself, Minister, then it will be Deputy Minister, then it will be the DG, and then lastly will come DPSA. Over to you, Minister, if you're still on the platform.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. You make me sad now, because the one thing that our late chairperson, Lady Sister, told me, I taught us, especially me, was protocol. And she insisted that the minister come in last. And I would like to honor her protocol lesson that I've learned from her. And maybe through you, Chair, ask the DBSA, the department, to respond first to some of the details, and then myself and the DM will come in. I definitely share some of the concerns raised by the Portfolio Committee, and I'm happy that we have this discussion in open. because it also strengthened the hand of the department in terms of our oversight over DBSA. So with your permission, Chair, I would request that DBSA and the department respond first. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister, for that guidance. Thank you very much. I'll give over to the DPSA, then the DG will come in, and then your Deputy Minister and yourself. Thank you. Over to you, DPSA.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. Let me start with Honorable Michael's input. And let me also appreciate and also preamble by saying we also welcome the feedback, because it's the only way that as a learning organization, when we talk continuous improvement, we really would want to be a better government machinery to deliver infrastructure, and also to say that this project members need to note these are, as we said, mostly community projects, and they really very serious community dynamics that takes place in the process. And hence one of the key issues has been our fortification of the social facilitation process, because understanding that community engagement becomes the fundamental issue in project management nowadays. So it's not how better the contractor can do, but it's all about how then the community is been taken along in terms of that process. Yeah, just starting with in terms of the pieces that has been completed. Honorable Michael, the process is clear. You have practical completion as the first stage. And at that practical completion, you define it very correctly to then say it is when the facility is usable and that it can really be occupied. And that's the first stage. And then then the JBCC, which is basically the contracting regime in the space, then would then say to us, then you would have to have some what you call the snack list that will then be given at that time to just say there are certain other minor things that needs to really be dealt with, and that will take us to the stage which we call works completion. And the works completion stage is when we know that all of the works has been completed. And by that time, when we say it's practically complete, it can be utilized. The facility can be utilized. And during that process, then we will then have the works completion. And after the works completion, then we'll deal with what we call the final completion. So the final completion, and this period, it then says very clear from a final completion to say it will be 90 days after the day that you take practical completion. So that is what is happening. So in our submission, we're not necessarily say, it has to really reach final completion. That's why I explained the issue around the stages that we follow to say then you have final completion and we'll have a completion report, which basically closes the whole entire thing. If it was more, it is then that the facility is transferred to whoever that needs to really be undertaken. But at this point in time, we are talking practical completion, and really members can visit in terms of all of these projects that has been practically complete. They are particularly there. For now, we have provided a schedule in terms of when the PC was achieved and when is the estimated time for the works completion to really be done, and then when is the final completion and the closeout report. So that we've provided as part of the annexure to just give members a view of what is the story in relation to the completion of these projects, and that is on slide 24 of the supplementary documentations that we really submitted. So agreeing to say, obviously, we are not saying it's fully complete. That's why it's practically complete. And then the next stage that we need to follow in terms of the process has to really be the works completion, and then the final completion, and we close out the project in particular. And in that process, that's how we really. So out of these 46 projects, all of those particular, they have been scheduled for that purpose. And I think that schedule provides a sense of where we are. So in terms of the penalties that we've levied, Honorable Michael, I don't have that data on my fingertips now. What we'll do, Chair, would also then be in a position to then submit a sense of each and every contractor, how much of the penalties have we really charged, and that's just to indicate in terms of the kind of consequence management that we're really taking to deal with these issues. There's an issue around the community disruptions, and like as I said, we have consistently analyzed as to what particularly contributes to this, and one of the key issues has been the fact that I've related earlier on to say we then realize that there are certain categories. There are those community disruptions that are caused by laborers not having to be paid, that have not been paid what is due to them by the subcontractors or the main contractors. And that has been occasioned by the fact that, like as I said, we have picked up that some of the contractors that we pay on terms of their payment certificates, they don't then pay the subcontractors. Subsequently, the subcontractors then have a challenge of paying their laborers. And that's when we start picking up such kind of things, because it's things that you cannot anticipate. And then as such, then we then say, because we have indicated that main contractor must have a subcontractor agreement, we then invoke that process of saying, okay, fine, because you are not paying this person, this is what we're going to really undertake in order for us to then ensure that the subcontractor has been paid. So as I indicated, we've invoked the issue of direct payments to the subcontractors and beginning to ring-fence their own particular kind of approach from that point. And on the other side, then we're able to then put the contractor on terms in terms of that. That has been the major issue that causes all of these disruptions. And the second other issue has always been the fact that some members within the community will come and say, look, we really would want further employment. And I mean, as I said, a particular contract project can only accommodate a number of workers. Now, you cannot just proliferate workers on the side and have more workers, which is not necessarily fit for that particular work. So as a result, we experience such kind of things, and that's why sometimes then people even suggest to say, no, we really would want to rotate. Let those people that have worked, we will then want to work from here to the completion. So, but those are some of the issues that, as I said, community dynamics that we need to really be in a position to deal with. But we really have a process in place to then deal with such kind of issues the time that they apply timelessly to ensure that those particular disruptions doesn't take place. And in some cases, obviously, there are issues that really don't concern us, where you find that in terms of the community trust and as well as the community, there are issues that are taking place amongst themselves, and those issues then start to really affect the process. So I don't see, I mean, when you touch the issue around the audit itself, I mean, we, as I speak even now, as I said, all of those projects that we're really doing now, we also even have, the AG, going to do the performance, assessment of all of those, and then is working with our team together with the department, going to all of them and auditing them on time at that point in time to see as to whether is there any wasteful or whatever expenditure to that effect. And so far, we haven't really received any particular kind of an opinion contrary to the fact that the facility is there and that the process has been followed. And that's primarily the answer when it comes to saying practical completion then could really raise an audit query. I think there's an understanding fully that it's practical completion, it's works completion, then it's final completion. And when you look in terms of even the what has been paid, thereof, it is consistent with that particular kind of a process. So that is something as that we obviously look at to ensure that we cooperate with AG. We also do our own independent reviews of such kind of errors. So the 14 projects that we spoke about, as I said, those 14 projects, we have an agreement with the department to then say, at this point in time, just get them to the detailed design. So we have not been given the mandate to particularly implement them yet, because then we've just been given a sense of say, now because these ones are late and then we've finalized the detailed the process quite late, what we need to really then happen is that just get them to the detailed design. The detailed design stage is when then we'll have all of the documentation necessary to can really go on tender in place. And that's when the department, as the minister has indicated, they can decide to say, look, we will want to take them within our environment and be in a position to procure for them and be in a position to manage them and complete them. So I think that has been covered, and I think it has been raised in terms of saying, what are you going to do with regards to the 14 projects that are there? Those who are just bringing them to the detailed design stage. And I think we also welcome and really always cooperated with the committee in going to the oversight when you have your oversight to go and explain yourself really even on the side, which it becomes even much more better to that effect. So let me also then address what Honorable Tito has particularly highlighted, and I think it was an issue around the persons with disability. So I think as I said, obviously the project could do more, but what we found is that what we have registered so far is only 6 people with disability, and I think as you rightfully say, we always actually encourage the contractors to also look at recruiting and employing persons with disabilities for the work appropriate for them to really then be in a position to do. Because in some projects, obviously, we have projects that are just on the mountains. So we need to then be in a position to know where we're able to then engage them. So that is our continuous view. We also share the sentiment to say it's quite a low number of the 6 people with disabilities. But I think we always strive to ensure that at least across all of the projects, that particular kind of indicator is taken care of. And then in terms of the free effort, I think free effort I would want to then summarize with it later to just look at indicating as to where we are with regards to free effort. And but I think you raised the question of saying how much was spent. At the time of termination, we did a termination account. I'm just not sure. We'd also then provide the detailed number in terms of what has been. But what I can tell you is that we terminated it because there was just no progress, but we have evaluated the work through the professionals to then say how far has this particular people gone and whether we really is the progress congruent with the cost. So I don't doubt that there's just no leakage in terms of what could have really been spent versus the progress at that point in time. So, but we do have a termination account that I think my colleague Kraus could really will then make it available to just more to indicate as to what has been the amount that at the time of a termination of one contractor, how much have we spent and whether we're still within budget and whether those things has been done. Because the process of doing that termination account, we send the professionals, all the QSs and all of that to go and really evaluate, the works and being a person to issue a certificate that says this is the work that has already been done. Because remember, we only pay for the work done, not for the work to be done. So as a result, that's why we will never be in a situation whereby we paid for something and then that work has not happened. So and we raised the issue around the capacity, around even including the issue around the platform 10 to say if these projects are continuing, what have we done with regards to the capacity of the department? And I think this is also the sentiment raised by the minister sometime when we had a bilateral to then say, how do we, because the memorandum of agreement make a provision for the capacitation of the department. And I think admittedly, the department at that point in time, the cohort they had in this particular area of taking care of infrastructure had not much of the experience with the issue of infrastructure delivery. And as a result, we did sometime around 2023 as a DBSA to assist the department in evaluating and assessing the capacity that exists and what capacity do they need to really be in a position to push forward. And that's what pushed the minister to then say we need to then activate this whole issue of the PMU and ensuring that the department has got the PMU. And that step, obviously the department will speak for itself in terms of what steps they've taken to start to inaugurate that process of the PMU. And we then did that assessment with CISA, which is the Consulting Engineers of South Africa, and as well as SAICI, to try and see how do we then take the skills level of the team there to a certain level. But we found that at that point in time, you needed some basic, and that's why we find that many of the team members might have lacked, built environment experience. And that's how that program was then say maybe what needs to be activated is the PSU or the PMU element, which is what I think the department is working on, and we are supporting them in relation to that process. So that is one way of having to look at capacitating the department. But also on the other side, there's been a shadowing that has been taken, that our project managers and the project managers from the department were really working along in the management of these projects, and also holding each other accountable in terms of the delivery of these projects. So, Honorable Linda, you spoke about the TURN project, and I think that relates to the clarity that will be provided by the minister for sure in terms of what is the way forward from here. But I think, like as I said, from our side, the 10 projects that we were left with, we now have achieved 3 on a practical completion. We're left with 7 that we need to complete and take them through all these phases so that they can works completion as well as the final completion. Indeed, on the issue of penalties, Honorable Linda, we will then do a comprehensive, submission that shows us to what is the level of penalties that we've really charged, or leave it to all the contracts that really had delays in terms of projects themselves. So I think you're speaking of the cost overruns, and I'm not sure, but I was trying to relate as to where that the member might have picked it up, but I think most of the cost overrun from the original thing has been more occasioned by the additional scope in some cases where we get to the committees as we start looking at the project itself in the process. You then discover that there are certain other things that the committees think, look, it needs to really be in a position to be included, and in that regard, the process has always been that you can also make that submission, and then that submission get to be discussed thoroughly between ourselves and the department, and say, is it something else that if this thing is not done, this would then become dysfunctional. The facility won't really be functional. So, and that's where we're coming from to then say our criteria for such kind of recommendations were such that if we don't do X this once, it means that this particular project would not necessarily be functional or serve the purpose intended for. And that's basically some of those things that were mainly unforeseen, and some have been foreseen, but thinking that they'll be addressed at a certain level. So, and I think that is the challenge of planning in some cases, to say at the time we've been designing this, we designed the building, but you might forget the issue around the stoves and the laundry facilities, mainly the furniture and all of that. So those are some of the issues that has really been coming, and that's what would have increased the cost in some other bases to then have that fraction in terms of the increase of the project. But mainly where we've already implemented some of these projects, we haven't really experienced a situation whereby we have actually exceeded extensively the cost, the original cost, and that we have provided in that schedule on page 24 of the supplementary submission, that you can still see that what was the budget and what is the expenditure to date, and that indicates as to say where we had Royal Kalanga at 16 million, we have actually spent 14.2. So we are trying to then look at it from that particular point in time. So the issue of the 46 projects that are in use, I think the 46 projects are in use, as I said, we've taken practical completion. So those projects are particularly in the hands of they're being utilized, those that are utilized. But we are busy also taking them to the works completion, and we believe that the issue of the ownership, you are very correct to say it's something else that we need to think about. We have discussed it with the department to say, what input could we give in terms of the operator, because it may happen that we are now done with this particular nice facility, but how is it going to be operated? And especially when it involves community, you need to have a very structured way of managing and operating that particular facility. Otherwise, it will end up being, we can regress very quickly to that particular effect. So there's an issue raised, Honorable Linda, on procurement irregularities. And I'm saying part of what you'll read in the report is that, yes, of course, it has been the due diligence issue that when we issued out the tender, obviously we issue a tender, we expect the responses to come from the bidders from South Africa. Then what happened was that in some cases people would have forged certain things, like your QAIDA. Mainly, if you look at it, you'll find that it's more the issue of the QAIDA certificate, because then when people experiences that they're finding the Department of Labor not responding to them on QAIDA, they become creative and they will go to the computer, because many of them we had to pick them up picked them up when we started realizing that no, let's try and compare this thing with the system there. You'll find that no, there is a discrepancy that has happened. And by that time, it is some we could pick them up earlier, others we pick them up as we proceed with the process. So it has been that kind of a process where that occasion took place, where there have been some lapse in terms of the due diligence that needed to be done. And I think that's what we continuously invest in, to make sure that we don't find ourselves appointing people that are not necessarily having the right credentials, because we understand that people don't have work out there and they become creative to that effect. So that we picked it up, and then we also had an engagement with the AG in terms of what occasioned that. And then we got recommendations from the AG, and then we're also in the process of really managing some of those sort of things. That's why when you look at the audit trail, there are those that we have actually closed down, and there are those that we're still picking up and we're dealing with. And from the DBSA side, we have a debarment policy now to then say, if then we find that these contractors particularly forged, this becomes serious, we report that obviously to the National Treasury in terms of the blacklisting process, and we leave it to them. But we also, from our side, say we can't then appoint the same contractor for another work because this is on our red list, or this is on a flag list, to say this particular contractor has particularly behaved in an ethical way, and that's how we really deal with that process. But otherwise, there's no. We haven't really, taken any steps against anyone from our side, because, as I said, when we analyze the whole entire thing, it's more like what the forgeries that has happened with the quotas and all of that comes. But then we particularly also just thought it is important for us to strengthen our internal controls or our mechanisms for detection of such kind of things, and that is what is in place from our side as the DBSA. Now, Honorable Ishmael, you are very correct to say, some of these things takes an intergovernmental, planning, and as such, I mean, when we get into any of these projects, we firstly then get to socialize the project with the local government representatives, and then many of them have been part of the steering committees on the various projects. But obviously, what you then would find there is the inconsistency in terms of participation in that particular process. So we recognize that, and obviously how far we can go is to only encourage them to really participate in the project, so that we don't get to really be forcing the municipality to really be in a position to participate. But we have, in many cases, when we start, they become part of that, because some of the things involves them, like the roads, as you said. It's important that the municipality should really also, service the road towards that project, because in some cases we had difficulty. That's why we forced most of the contractors to say, the project is right on the mountain, there's no road. What do you need to do? You need to then start, as you go up, you utilize your equipment to start building the road as part of the project. That's the way we thought we would then mitigate it, using the contractors to just build up that. But it's not sustainable, because once they leave, then there's no any other thing that they're really going to be in a position to do to that effect. So now we really take the sentiments of saying there has to really be that cooperation between local government and also the Department of Tourism, which is very important in the process of saying, how do we then sustain this thing? And we raise the issue of signage, and that I think needs to really be looked at as a strong recommendation from your side as a committee to then get that sorted out. So, I mean, there was a question that you are raising around what are our risk adjustment process in terms of especially these 14 projects. Like, as I said, we have learned quite a dozen of lessons around this process, and on the 14, like as I said, it is us just packaging them and giving that to the department as saying, this is the 14 that needs to be done, and this is how they could really be done. Then the department can really decide as to how they want to undertake those. But those are from the detailed design, and we believe maybe the PMU can really also then be in a position to undertake such kind of things. Indeed, you're correct. Most of the projects, like as you said, they are behind schedule with the reasons that I've provided. Almost all of them were supposed to have been done by now. And that has been the fact that, like as I said, these are community projects. We have to really navigate all of those particular kind of challenges that we're really faced with. We also have to deal with the contractors that are really particularly performing poorly. And in some cases, as DBSA, we thought also let's capitalize some of these contractors when they have cash flows. We decided in some cases we have a working capital fund. From our working capital fund, we also would give some of these contractors the funding to really be in a position to accelerate the project. We are not giving them money as in take the money. We actually pay for the material suppliers for them to really be in a position to pick up the project, because some of them don't have that process. In some cases it works, in some cases it doesn't work, because ultimately you can get the material on site, but as long as the material is not being converted into a structure, then there's still nothing that you'll then achieve. So I agree with you to then say, yes, indeed, most of these are behind, but all of the PCs has been professionally signed, has been professionally agreed, and all of the parties, including the beneficiaries, all of them have particularly signed on of those practical completion certificates, and it's all agreed to say it's practical complete, and they're all aware in terms of what is the next processes that needs to be undertaken to that effect. And then I think Honorable Mashavela, you raised the issue around the, why did we take Manyane Lodge? I think we obviously took it as part of the projects that has been allocated, and obviously we are very clear that when we take a project, we would want to take it at a point when it is clear in terms of what we are going to do and put it in our own process. So we took Manyane, not necessarily taking the history of Manyane, but taking it from where it was and redesigning it from our side and being a person to still deliver it, because I thought the department considered it to still be saying that this project is very critical to then be in a position to be undertaken within that community, and the expectations to meet the expectations of the communities that side. So our implementation was taking its own particular approach than having to look at what happened before. Obviously, the processes to deal with what happened before would then be in a position to be undertaken separate from our process, but we took it as a project that we believe we need to take into conclusion from where we're sitting. So the issues of Madzila, I think the department will also then touch on that particular one. From my side, I think Honorable Tongo, you raised the issue around what would happen after the infrastructure has been delivered, and I think that was posed to, and I think the department would also then opine on that. But from our side, it's also where we are really making an input in supporting the department in ensuring that at the end of the day, this question is well answered, and that we find mechanism of how do we ensure sustainability of these facilities. And one of the things that we're discussing with my chair yesterday was also to then say, we think, because most of them that are within community trust, we're also saying we need to find a way of how do we then assist the department in capacitating the trusts themselves, but also to look in terms of even capacity building ways of ensuring that there is a better facilities management and better benefits to be accrued from this particular project. But that is basically us as a development bank to then say, how do we also ensure that we assist the department, whether we assist from a CSI or another mechanism. I think from our side, it is our interest to then say we don't want to then be associated with the fact that this facility was at this level and now it has deteriorated to this level. So we really are very conscious of that, especially the issues of maintenance, and we will definitely take care of those particular aspects. From my side, I think we have tried, as DBS said, to try and address some of those issues. Unless my colleague Kraus, is there anything from your side that would want to do, and maybe the chair?
Thank you, Aji. Thank you, Honourable Chair and Honourable Minister. I think there's just one item that I would like to add, and that's on Vredefort Dome. So the original contract that was around 24 million, that contractor was terminated on 7.2 million. The new contractor was appointed at 19.9 million. So there's about a difference of around 2 million. And that of course is covered through guarantees and all of those that we will recover from the previous contractor. And then just on the penalties, I'd just like to add any overrun on budgets. It's not really overrun on budgets. There's variation orders, approvals in place that we get approval for before you do any additional work. Overrun on time, there's extension of time claims that needs to be approved for those. Where there's no extension of time claim in place, we will, of course, apply penalties on those, and that we will make available in the spreadsheet to say what penalties we did apply to these contractors. I think that's the only two areas that I would like to add. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, DPSA. Minister, you spoke of time.
Yes, yes.
The reason I was giving you first is because I knew that at 11 you must leave. Okay, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and thank you for your consideration. Honourable Chair, I think to put this whole responses in context, we need to start right at the beginning on slide 9. In 2020, we are now in 2025. So we have to see between 2020, when the department committed over 1.1 billion rand for 71 projects. And we are now in 2025. And the agreement with DBSA has again been extended to 2027. So 7 years for 71 projects. And that's why I made the point in the beginning that there will be no further extensions. That as a department, we need to also up our game on contract management on a monthly basis and make sure that we achieve the outcomes that is in the contract. We are now still busy with projects of the 6th administration. We should have started the 7th administration with new projects aligned to the 3 key priorities of government. The second point is that as a department, we do pay a management fee to DBSA. So there are also contractual obligations in terms of the management fee. But after 7 years, which will be 2027, when we receive the close-up report from DBSA, we will be able to calculate on the amount of money over budget. We know already we're well over time already with these projects. You know, in the built environment, you find that the prescripts of the regulations to build anything, any infrastructure, is applicable to both the public sector and the private sector. But there is the complacency when delivery has to be done for the public sector. And when the blame comes, it comes to the Department of Tourism and not the DPSA. That's why the Department of Tourism, we have now re-looked at our service level agreement to make sure that we hold the DPSA accountable, but we still, the buck stops with us. As the Department of Tourism, we have to ensure that. In terms of the new way of dealing with infrastructure, first of all, I want to raise the point around the capacity of the DBSA. How many projects do they give per project manager? My observation is that one project manager gets too many projects to manage at the same time. And I do want to request them that they assign more project managers to all the projects of the Department of Tourism so that they can complete all of these projects before 2027. What we also need to see DBSA do is that all new infrastructure projects, since 2020, when we brought through the Infrastructure South Africa, I don't hear them speaking about any project preparation done by DBSA. Because if you do project preparation, you will de-risk all the infrastructure projects. And these are the things that we have been discussing with DBSA. Also, we just glance over social facilitation. The issue of social facilitation means consultation with the communities at conception stage. But the consultation does not end there. You're then supposed to establish a project steering committee consisting of community members, that in the event there's community disruptions, you call the project steering committee together and you try and resolve those issues. So again, the department must ensure that DBSA regularly have social facilitation and also ensure that the project steering committees consisting of the communities are consulted to help us to deal with the communities, community disruption. I think two of the members mentioned the issue of handing over of projects. That's another weakness that we are dealing with now. The Department of Tourism invests a lot of money in consultation with the communities to build infrastructure for them and assets for them. But where we are weak on is that what happened after you hand over that facility to the communities. One, in our project service level agreement with contractors, we must include maintenance. Who's going to be responsible for the maintenance of that asset once we hand it over to the communities? We know that the communities don't have the resources at all times to do the maintenance. So the Department of Tourism must include a maintenance contract in any asset that we build. Also, who is going to operate that facility afterwards to make sure that the facility is sustainable, that it becomes profitable, that it generates income for the communities. We just hand over these assets to the communities and walk away. The Department of Tourism must ensure there's an operational management contract in place before we hand over to communities. I visited one lodge that we are building in Mpumalanga. And as we inspecting the building, and there's a big fire pit, a swimming pool, a restaurant, beautiful facilities for the communities. And I was with the chief and the traditional leaders when we were doing this oversight. And my question was, I don't see any solar panels, PV on the roofs or anything. So DBSA do know that we have a green building policy in place for a number of years. So any assets that you build, it must include, PV solar panels. It must include water saving mechanism and all of that. I was told no, there was not enough budget for the greening of the facility, but they bought a big generator for thousands of rands. So DBSA must also ensure green policy of government is adhered to. And then after completion, with the handover, the department must ensure, that is the responsibility of the department, not a DBSA, that we assist the communities to operate that facility so that it becomes sustainable. The department, we are also now improving on our contract management. And contract management, there must be tracking. I've insisted in the extension of the contract with DBSA until 2027 that there be sanctions and penalties built into it, and that we work more closely with them to make sure that we pick up non-performance issues up front. I welcome the suggestion by the Portfolio Committee to go and visit these projects. I have got plotted in my diary before the end of the year to visit at least 6 of the projects. There's one that's already completed that we are planning to hand over in the Eastern Cape, a project called the Dinosaur Project. And I said to the department, before we go then hand it over, I want to see the operational plan. Who's going to operate that facility? Who is going to do the maintenance? So I welcome the visit by the portfolio committee to go and do oversight on these projects. And then lastly, in terms of capacity within the department, it was another weakness in that we did not have a branch within the department that could work with DBSA in terms of oversight, in having a multidisciplinary team, built environment specialists in the department that can work with DPSA and have oversight. And with the DG, we have written to DPSA, to the Department of Public Service and Administration, and we did get permission that we can bring in that strengthening of our built environment specialists into the department. And that certainly, honorable members, will help the department also to improve our oversight over DPSA. And certainly, I will make sure that we do contract management more often with DPSA. But in the close-up report, we will see whether what we have spent is at more than the 1.178 billion, and what was the overruns and the extra time and the costing. That we will only get once we have completed all of these projects. Talking about the next 5-year, honorable members, the department had a lot of new projects planned for the next 5 years. I had a meeting with the DG and with the DDG, and we had prioritized a few projects. We go for a lot of projects and then leave them half finished all over the country. So we are going to go for a few projects that can create jobs, that can help us with skills development, demand-led skills. So the days of the department having more than 18, 19 vanity projects, that's what I call them. We now having reduced them so that we know, because of the 6 planning stages and phases of building infrastructure, that we must be able to complete that and complete them well in time. So hopefully we will be able to keep the committee up to date with the capacity building in the department. DBSA must look at their own capacity in terms of project management. I do agree with Honorable Mahetwe, and he had summed it up so well, and he has raised all the points, and I agree with all the concerns that he has raised in the PC. And the PC must hold the DBSA and the department accountable going into future. Chairperson, thank you for giving me the time. And if the DM will remain, the DG is here and the DDG, if you and the committee members will release me, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister, for those responses and clarities. I think you are released, Minister, because we did the apology at the beginning of the meeting. I'll give the DG now. DG Vele.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and greetings to the members as well as to the colleagues on the line. Greetings to the Deputy Minister as well. Honorable Chairperson, I know that Mr. Rampele started going to some of the areas, but I'll speak to a few projects, and I will also speak to the issue about consequence management. So what we do on the consequence management, Honorable Chairperson, is that when our own risk management systems pick up issues that are pertinent to the implementation of the projects, I personally write letters to the DBSA, which I then send to Mr. Rampele for them to then look into those specific matters. And in some of the instances, it's either coming from previous audits or coming from site visits, and then we make sure that those matters are actually communicated to them for them to be able to deal with those. And then they activate their internal system with regards to that. We do, I know that July is the tentative date for the completion of Friede Fort. It's a project that we have on radar, given the challenges that it has experienced before, and some of the challenges that it was also experiencing subsequent to the departure of the previous terminated contractor. So we just keep it on the radar, and I think it's a kind of project that from time to time we will be getting reports more regular than the normal reports that we get, given the number of events that occurred around it with regards to the challenges that it actually faced.
Minister, can you please mute your mic?
Sorry, Chair, I forgot to look out.
So with regards to that, to the Friede Fort Dome, what I'm saying is that, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, we will be giving it special attention, if one could put it like that. It will not be the same kind of attention that we would be giving to other projects per se. And I'm emphasizing that it is because we had to terminate. So once we get to a stage where there is a termination and the subsequent appointed contractor, they also experienced further problems, including the death of the main contractor in that particular context and so on. So it's a whole host of things that have actually happened around this. So the July date, we take note of it as well, but we are closely monitoring that to make sure that going forward we don't find ourselves in further problems with regards to that particular project. I'm advised, Chairperson, that with Manyeledi, what we did some, not everything, we did some maintenance. And the part that we did was done, completed properly. However, Manyeledi, it is a provincial product. It does require continuous maintenance, and it is a matter that the province, I suppose, should take up and make sure that as it goes forward, there is proper maintenance plans and there's proper actual maintenance that takes place in the facility. Bloemfontein, I'm also advised here that when Bloemfontein, I think it was a question raised by Honorable Linde. When the questions about Bloemfontein came, Bloemfontein was not a project that was actually under implementation at all. It still isn't. I think it is final stages of planning and so on. The DDG will speak a little bit more about that. But it was a project that was already long in communities' hands. So this is considered a new project going to be done at Bloemfontein. I think I needed to just clarify that particular aspect, that it is actually a new project altogether. It's not that during that particular period, the project with the department or with DBSA that had actually not been dealt with as such. The Manyane Lodge was amongst the projects that were evaluated by the GTEC. Part of what GTEC did was to ascertain whether a product would be fit for purpose when the proper work has actually been done in terms of it functioning as a tourism facility. And indeed, they confirmed that it would, and they also indicated that it should, the department should consider completion. So when that decision to complete, which was taken earlier days of the fifth administration, when that decision was taken, it actually took that particular outcome into account. Yes, there's a lot of money that was wasted on Manyane, according to the Aegis report of 2018-19. So Honorable Mashavela is correct about that. And that money that was wasted, which was declared also in the financials and so on, and we reported transparently about that to the House. But we further did a forensic investigation on this matter, and these matters are also with the Directorate for Priority Crimes, otherwise known as the Hawks. So it's a matter that they assist with, but also these are matters that through the State Attorney are being followed up in terms of civil claims against all the implicated people with regards to that particular project. So that particular aspect of the wastage has actually been dealt with in terms of what we are expected to do with regards to what the law provides for. And the part of making sure that a product that really is viable is completed, which will add to the product base in and around Mahikeng, and also probably being one of very few places that would not necessarily be within the city, but within about 10-kilometer radius of the city, will really add to the experience of Mahikeng. So it is an important project from that particular perspective, and we see it as spending this particular money now is really making sure that we are able to get it back to operations. And once it operates, it will be creating jobs for the people of Mahikeng, but it would also be adding to the product base. Those who are familiar with Mahikeng would know that the city does not have as much products in its vicinity, and in such instances where there's bigger events and so on, sometimes it does suffer from accommodation provision. Honorable Chairperson, with regards to the Matsila Lodge, I don't have any involvement with this particular project whatsoever, so I'm going to hand over to the DDG. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DG. DDG.
Good morning, Honourable Chair and Honourable Member. I think that there were a few questions that the DGs asked me to respond to that I'm going to do my best to respond to. Let me start with the Matsila Lodge, Honourable Chair. With regards to the Matsila Lodge, the department has actually not had any involvement or contribution to the Joe Matsila Lodge. This is a facility that we understand that existed on the property and burnt some years ago. We do, in fact, and we have completed a project with the Matsila community. Our agreement in terms of that particular project is with the Matsila Community Development Trust. And so the property does belong to the Community Development Trust. That project is in fact reached practical completion, Honourable Chair, and in fact has been operating for the last while, since December. And usually when a project reaches practical completion, we hand over to the owning entity, in this case, the Matsila Community Development Trust. They usually run and operate the facilities just to test them, and practical completion was achieved last year. We are now in the process, I think, of concluding final completion and handover, formal handover of that project. But the project, as we understand, and the feedback that we've received, is in fact that that project is operational. There are a number of events that have been hosted, and there are no major issues to the future operations of the facilities. I think with regards to maintenance projects, Honourable Chair, in 2020, we did note that a number of facilities across the country were, of course, closed for an extended period of time because of the pandemic. As part of the tourism sector master plan, what we did include in our actions was maintenance of key facilities. There were then around 40 facilities that we worked with various provinces on, looking at the most immediate maintenance needs. The department does not own any of the facilities on which we actually do maintenance or actually construct. All of these facilities are owned, in the case of the maintenance facilities we've worked on, by provinces in most instances, and we did do maintenance work at national parks. So what we did in those instances, and Manyeleti was a case in point, Honourable Chair, was that we supplemented the maintenance work that was done by the various owning entities on those sites. The work at Manyeleti that we did was concluded in July 2023, and the facilities, of course, were handed back. Ongoing maintenance on those sites then becomes, of course, and has always been, the responsibility of the owning agent, and the department's intervention in maintenance was really as a response to the needs that were identified at the time post the pandemic and facilities being closed. The last one, I think, then, Chair, relates to the question of Platfontein. Platfontein is indeed a project that the department has been involved in. We had to conclude some detailed specialist studies on the geology and the hydrology, so the water and the soil, on the Platfontein project, before we could actually find a solution that made sense for what we are now scoping in terms of the project that is in procurement. That area is particularly prone to cracking on properties that are built on it, and it's basically due to the kind of soil and water conditions in the area. So the specialist studies took some time for us to conclude because the team that was working on it from the professional service providers, managed, of course, by the DBSA, wanted to get the correct solution for Platfontein before we embarked on procurement. I'm happy to say that we have concluded those studies, and at this point, Platfontein is now in procurement for a contractor to actually then run the facilities. Platfontein also does have an operator on site. Parts of the facilities are usable and have in fact been used for the hosting of events, and in actually determining the solution for Platfontein, we have worked very closely with the community that owns the property, as well as the operator that they have selected to work on that site. Chair, I think that the other issue that has been raised, and it's something that we've been doing on all of our project sites, we do involve the municipalities, as Mr. Rampele indicated, in our project steering committees. And we do engage them at the point that the project is actually before construction commences. But I agree with Mr. Rampele that in some instances, of course, the relationship works very well. In some instances, we can, of course, continue to foster those engagements so that the access roads, the signage, etc., to project sites are dealt with. But those are discussed through the project steering committee, and of course, we do escalate to our Office of the DM, Office of the Minister, where we request sometimes the assistance of our political principals to work with political principals across the country to assist where we have challenges. So we deal with that both at an operational level and then through the kind of political offices where there's a need to escalate those matters. We have, as a department, worked closely with owning entities on all of the sites. In some instances, owning entities have wanted to appoint their own operators. In some instances, the department is assisting and facilitating the process. So we actually have worked at an individual project level to look at those long-term sustainability issues. I think, Chair, those were in the main all of the issues that I needed to add to, and I think I will stop at that point. Thank you, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members.
Thank you very much, DDG. Over to you, Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and greetings to the team from both the departments and DBSA. I think the Minister and DG and DDG has already responded to almost all the questions. But Chairperson, I just need to give just a short information with regard to two of the projects that has been mentioned by Honourable Mautwe, that is Ntadesello. Firstly, I need to indicate that there is this new model of working with the municipalities, that is the DDM. I am a DDM champion in the district where Freedom Dome project is situated. Therefore, I listened to the DG when he said that this one will receive a specific attention. Indeed, it will receive specific attention because every time I visit the area once a month, I do make a turn at the project. Hence, I raised a concern with the DG earlier today about the completion date of July 2025. It's not possible that it can be completed by July 2025. Maybe we'll have to say July 2026 because I was there almost 2 weeks ago. It's very far from being completed by July 2025. But any other thing that has been said, I agree with that. And also, I need also to mention that there was a challenge 2 months ago with regard to this project, with regard to the security around the place. And I was happy to see that there is a security company that has been appointed to look after the project. So things are trying to move now faster. And also, I need to indicate that as a person from this department and also as a champion in that area, I do have meetings with the communities around the area where then they give me the information about the status of the Freedom Dome project. Let me then also, Chair, talk about Muzipen, because it's one of the projects that has been mentioned here by my member, Ntadesello. You will remember that late last year, I think it was between October and November, I just missed the actual month. Myself and the team and the DG and the DDGs, we visited a Muzi Pen project, and also the former member of this community, Mamum Chunu. And then what then happened, there was a lot, or what then made me decide that I should start with this project is because of the community disruptions that were happening there. Then one of the things that we then discovered when we received information from the communities there was the fact that there was a dispute with regard to the land ownership of the project. I then immediately, after consultation with the municipality, the district was part of that, the local municipalities was part of those meeting when we were doing oversight. We then established a team, which was then led by the executive mayor of King Cetshwayo district, together with the tribal authority and also some representatives from the community around the area, in order for them to be able then to resolve the matter of the ownership. Sometimes last week, whilst I was out of the country, I then requested the DDG and the team from the office to visit the area again so that we can have a report on what is the status of that project. I'm happy to say that sometimes we really need to give credit where it is due. I want to inform you that the issues, the situation has changed totally in that area. I don't know if it's because of the visit or because of the mediation team that we established there. The project is almost finished or completed. The only thing that, as per the report that I received from the team and from the mayor himself, was the issue of the quality of water, DG, and also the procurement of the furniture. So if we can only deal with those, I'm sure that we can somewhere in July, we'll be in a position then of handing this project over to the communities. But before we hand over, I will have to go down in order for me then to get an actual report on how was the matter then resolved between the communities themselves. Otherwise, as the minister has indicated, we have taken note of all the issues that has been raised. And I'm not going to repeat what she has said because I've written here what almost she said. And one of the things that we requested from the DDG and the DG and the team is for us then to get a list of all those projects that are said to be at 90 to 100% completion stage, so that we can personally visit the project and do oversight, so that we can agree with the completion dates, and so that if they say that the completion is August, then we can say yes, by the look of things, it is August. But for now, I would also then agree with the members that they would like to do oversight of these projects. But we need really to finish this project, because it's true when one member said that it's almost spoiled the Auditor General's outcome when it comes to the department, because of they are red flagged, most of them, because of not having completed them on time. But now that we have created some sort of a working very close together with DBSA officials, I think we'll be in a position of trying then to attend some of the issues that has been raised by the members. Chairperson, thank you very much. Thanks to the members. We do commit that we'll pay special attention to most of this project that has been raised by members. Thank you very much, and thanks to the members.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Thank you to the DG, the DDG, and Minister and DPSA. We are behind time as members must be traveling to Parliament from their residence at 12:30. Now that the Minister is gone, I'll direct it to the department. The presentation shows that there has been poor project management on DPSA by the department. The department must strengthen its project management functions with the DPSA so that there will be no delays based on constructual challenges. The department and DPSA should ensure that all projects handed over to the communities have an operational plan so that these do not become white elephants, and operational budgets should be set aside as part of the project implementation. The department should explain to the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure that the tourism projects create jobs post-implementation, and as such, an operational budget should be part of the implementation. Otherwise, projects will be handed over and not be operational, thus wasting taxpayers' money. And again, on projects such as Muzipen, the department and DPSA should ensure that proper planning happens at a planning stage so that there is no additional scope of work added during the implementation stage. The minister explained that moving forward, the infrastructure projects should create jobs in line with the 7th administration. The department and DPSA again should ensure that they only take on projects that will achieve such objectives moving forward. Again, the department and DPSA should consider implementing fewer but high impact projects instead of many but less impactful projects. It should not be about quantity, but about quality. And then lastly, the issue of business forums and construction mafias should be dealt with decisively, working with law enforcement agencies. The minister should recommend in cabinet that an inter-ministerial committee should be established for government projects in general and tourism projects in particular. The minister should report back to the committee in regard to this recommendation. I think there would be the recommendations of the portfolio committee regarding the presentation we received today by DPSA. I would not waste time, but release and thank you, the department, DPSA, Minister and Deputy Minister, for being part of our meeting as we proceed with our own internal matters as the portfolio committee. You are now released, department. And
Thank you.
And the
Thank
minister.
you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Disang, can you please fly to the agenda again? We are on item 5 on our agenda, consideration and adoption of draft minutes. Can you fly the minutes?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Let me just apply the minutes. I'm going to start with the minutes of the 18th, Chair.
Okay, proceed.
Sharp. These are minutes of the 18th of March. We had the South African tourism on the tourism route development marketing plan. The minutes were circulated, so I won't go into detail. Opening and welcome. Presentation on the tourism development marketing plan and a synopsis of what was presented. Some of the issues that were raised by members in terms of the presentation that was presented. And then some of the responses that we have received from SA Tourism, the department, in terms of the tourism road development marketing plan, and then the consideration and adoption of minutes of the 11th of March, 2025, and then our closure.
Honorable members, here are the minutes as presented. As Utisang has mentioned, that we received the minutes before today's meeting. So members will indicate if they want to adopt or want to amend something on the minute. I'll see by the show of hands. Members, are we still in the meeting?
Comrade Chair.
Yes, Comrade Livo.
Honorable Garabaye, I hereby adopt the minutes of the said date as the true reflection of what transpired on that day. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Garaba. Honorable Mayeja.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I second the adoption of the minutes.
Thank you. Tisang, is there another set of minutes?
Yes, we do have another set. It's only 2 sets. This one is for the 25th of March. Okay, let me just go up. This one was it was on the 25th of March. It was briefing by AXA, the Airlines Association of South Africa, the Board of Airline Representatives of South Africa, BARSA, on challenges facing the aviation industry, global trends, and contributions to the tourism sector. We also had the Tourism Grading Council of South Africa and the South African National Conventions Bureau. But we also had the Tourism Transformation Council of South Africa present. It was on the 25th of March, 2025. These were members of the committees who were present in the meeting. And then all the representatives from the stakeholders that we had meeting with, opening and welcome. And then the presentations were stakeholders that were present in the meeting was the Airport Company of South Africa, Airlines Association of Southern Africa, Board of Airlines Representatives of South Africa, the Tourism Transformation Council of South Africa, and the Tourism Creating Council of South Africa. And then these were some of the issues that were raised in terms of the presentation, in terms of Airports Company of South Africa, in terms of the Airlines Association of Southern Africa, the Board of Airline Representatives of South Africa, the Tourism Transformation Council of South Africa, the Tourism Grading Council of South Africa, the Tourism National Conventions Bureau, and the closure. This was the meeting that we had as an introductory to all the entities that relate to aviation. Thanks, Acting Chair.
Thank you, Tisang. Honorable members, here are the sets of minutes of the 25th of March. And again, by the show of hands, I will note those that want to amend or add, or those that want to adopt the minutes. Honorable Likaraba. Honorable Likaraba.
Yes, Chair. I was part of the meeting that was held on the 25th of March, 2025. Therefore, I hereby adopt the minutes as it is, as part of the deliberation on the date set.
Thank you, Honorable Maetwe.
I second the adoption, Chair.
Thank you. Are we done with minutes now, Tisang?
Yes, Madam Chair, we are done. Now, the next item on the agenda, Chair, there is still something there.
Yes, I see the next item, which is the adoption of the program of the committee. Can you please flight the program?
All right. Yeah. Can I go through it, Chair?
Yes, please.
Okay. This is the second term program of the committee, Chair. It was adopted before. However, there's been a change in the parliamentary framework for the second term, which was extended to July. So we had to make some few changes. If you allow me, the meeting of the 6th of May was postponed, and then the Tourism Indaba program was not approved. And then on the 20th of May, which is a meeting we are having today, that we're supposed to have had last week, but due to known facts, we couldn't have that meeting last week. And then on the 27th, which is today of May, is the meeting that we have of DBSA, which was long overdue. And then on the 3rd of June, we'll be having the briefing by the Department of Tourism and the Tourism Business Council of South Africa regarding preparation and participation in the hosting of G20. And then there's also a meeting that is that we think we must add to next week's meeting, which is the briefing by SIFA, which is a small enterprise finance agency, on progress report regarding the implementation of the Tourism Equity Fund and support to small and medium enterprises in the tourism sector. This is a follow-up meeting from the meeting that we had with them last year. And then on the 10th of June, briefing by the South African Township and Village Tourism Association on their programs and matters affecting tourism development in townships and villages. That is an entity called SATO-VITO. That's got to do with tourism and small dorpies. And then the 17th of June, we've got the briefing by the Department of Tourism on the revised 5-year strategic plan for the 7th administration and the annual performance plan and budget for 2025-2026 financial year. That will also be coupled with the strategic plan, APP, and budget for SA tourism. This is the revised. I think that the department will it has got until the 13th. However, the budget vote has been 80 seats and it has been received. And then in terms of in the first program, we were supposed to be having oversights on the 23rd to 27th, but those are cancelled because now we will be dealing with the budget votes. On the 24th of June, we'll be having a meeting with the Department of Tourism and SA Tourism on internal audit teams on the progress made in addressing the 2024 Auditor General findings. And on the 1st of July, 2025, a meeting with the department on the 2024-2025 fourth quarter performance report. And also we'll be considering and adopting the budget vote report of the department and the state-owned umpire company, SA Tourism. On the 8th of June is the date when our budget vote will be debated, which is budget vote 88. And then on the 15th of July, SA Tourism on the 2024-2025 fourth quarter performance report. And then the 22nd of July, it's our last meeting, which is the meeting with the Department of Tourism and SA Tourism on responses to the 2024 budget review and recommendations report. And then we've make asterisks on two matters that are happening, which is the launch of the Dinosaur Park in Free State. That is a program of the Department of Tourism that will happen in Bloemfontein. And then on the 1st to the 3rd of July, the Department of Tourism will be having a G20 outreach program in Mpumalanga. But that one is a ministerial program of the minister and the department. We're just highlighting it for the committee to note it and know that there is a program of that nature that is taking place. Thank you very much, Acting Chair.
Thank you, Disang. Honorable members, as Disang had mentioned that we had adopted the program, but because of the changes in the Parliament program, that is why it's here today. But though, Disang, it's concerning that members would always raise that we need to do oversight and we can't cover or put oversight on our program because of the program of Parliament. So I want to know, can't we fit oversight anywhere in this program of this quarter? Because I think members are really stressing out the issue of oversight whenever they raise their issues. But I'll give back all to honorable members for anything that needs to be amended, added, or adoption of the program of the portfolio committee.
Acting Chair, in terms of that program that they had sent us, the parliamentary framework, they had not specified which week can we use for parliamentary oversight for the NA committees. But obviously, after we're done with our budget vote report, maybe the House chairperson might be able to allow the committee to undertake an oversight visit. But we will see when can that be, Chair, because in terms of the program, there will be plenaries up until the 22nd of July 2025. So it's a matter of the committee seeing which we can work on it with the content advisor and the secretariat to see which day can we look at where there's nothing that will be voted in the house. See if we can get a date, a week to go out and advise the committee accordingly. Yeah.
Thank you, Tisang. Honorable members, here is the program. Honorable Mayetre.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I think on the same note that you are raising a concern with regard to the oversight as the portfolio committee, I think that we need to make it very clear, Chair, that without doing a practical oversight on whatever that we are doing as the work of the portfolio committee, it will disadvantage some of the work that we are doing because we will be viewed as the armchair revolutionaries. I'm sorry to use that particular word. And we will sound rhetoric at the same time. For me, I want to also echo your sentiments by saying that since the committee secretary has mentioned that we are going to have a program until the 20th of July, we amend this program in this meeting and include these oversight committees starting from the 24th of July, whatever date that will suit us, as a draft and share or circulate amongst ourselves as members of the portfolio committee so that in the next meeting, we will then be able to agree on this particular program. But of course, we must do oversight. A portfolio committee of tourism has not done an oversight on whatever that we are presiding over, except the visit that we undertook on the request or the invitation of the minister in the Northern Cape. Other than that, our oversight work has been rescheduled, postponed, rescheduled on the basis of affording Parliament to perform its functions. And we are not doing so because we are undermining Parliament. I think that this should be a matter for concern, but it should be raised within the proper channels. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mayetre. I think, Tisang, you did get that we should put, after the end of our program, we should put oversight. And then once you guys get the Parliament dates of oversight, I think they will be within those ones. Then we put our oversights because, like Honorable Mayetre has said, is that we've never been to an oversight as a portfolio committee. So we always go to invitations by the minister. So we need to do oversight. Now, those are the amendments that are made. Now, I'll look for hands, honorable members that seeks to adopt. Are the other honorable members still on the platform? Can we have the hands that adopt the program?
We are still here, Chairperson.
Okay, Honorable Linda, thank you for confirming. Honorable Sila, your hand is up again. Honorable Dikaraba.
Yes, Chair. Sorry. With that being said, I want to move for this the adoption, of course, with these issues raised on the program. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mayetre. Honorable Dikaraba.
I second the move by Honorable Mayetre with the suggestion made so that the secretary can go and consider our plea for more oversight to be sorted in the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dikaraba. Honorable members, thank you very much for allowing me to chair this meeting of today and for participating actively in ensuring that we represent our people as a portfolio committee. I think we've come to the end of our meeting. I would not waste time looking that it's 12:15 already, and at 12:30 buses are leaving. So thank you very much, honorable members. Our meeting is now officially adjourned.
Thank you, Chairperson, colleagues. Have a good
Chair,
day.
thank you.
Thank you, Chair.